you yourself are looking forward to seeing that are going to be signs that this team's going to be ready?
I think if we can get through practice and limit mistakes, around college football, and you're just watching it from afar, my opinion is when you have a collection of new people that haven't worked together for 3 years, mistakes can happen and teams beat themselves. If we can develop into a mature team that's disciplined and doesn't do the little things that beat ourselves, then we're going to be tough to beat. But that's hard to really nail down in on, because there's a million things that happen that you've talked about, but there's also a lot of things that happen through the course of a competition that you haven't had time to talk to the team about. So it really comes down to maturity and discipline. If we can get through practices not doing the little things that get you beat and continue to operate well, like I said, I think our talent will shine through at that point.
Coach, at Big 12 Media Day, some of your players described your offense as fast. What do you want the identity of this offense to be?
Well, UCF fast is still up all over the building too. I really appreciate everybody for leaving some of those things up because I didn't have to reinvent a lot of things. Fast can mean a lot of different things, and we talk about it in our team meetings. But first I want to execute at a fast pace and within plays. Less than full speed doesn't get it done. There's too many talented guys out there. So we want to be able to attack. I think we got the type of athletes here that fit me and fit our offense well, and if we can max those guys out, then we'll look like a fast offense. But we're also going to play complementary football, and I don't exactly know what we have yet. If our defense is as good as I think it could be, we might be a little more careful on offense. If we need to go score a bunch of points to win, then we're going to do our best to do that. But I think through camp and the first couple contests, we'll really figure out the best formula to try to get wins at the end of the day.
Coach, you mentioned there's not a lot of returning production on offense, especially even a receiver. Are you comfortable with the idea of freshmen competing for starting spots on the team?
Absolutely. I tell the guys all the time, I don't care if guys are from America or somewhere else, or the north or the south, if they're red, white, black, blue, purple, if they're freshmen or seniors, or if they're getting paid a lot or a little, we're playing the best player. And if the best players are 18-year-old freshmen, so be it. We'll learn with them and compete with them. So I think we have a good feel for certain positions, who the lead dogs are going to be, but every position is a competition. Receiver is kind of one I point to that's a microcosm of the whole team. I think we have a lot of talent at receiver. It's very unproven. We don't have a lot of returning production, but I know we have guys that can do it. And how quickly those guys go from talented players to good players is going to say a lot about how quickly we win.
Compared to the spring, how do you evaluate the quarterbacks differently to make that decision, to get to that final answer? Who's going to go out there against Jacksonville State?
Yeah, I told the three quarterbacks we're kind of going to start with a blank slate now. You know, spring was great. I don't think anybody really emerged. But through spring, they were learning. The whole team was learning. They would make a mistake because we hadn't coached it well enough. Somebody around them would make a mistake that would make their job harder. Now that everybody's familiar with what we're going to do, and now's the right time to really evaluate it. And I think it's the most fair time to really evaluate it. So we're kind of starting with a blank slate, and like I said, we're going to give everybody a chance, not anoint anybody. Somebody's going to have to step up and take it, and we're going to give them opportunities to compete.
Coach, when you were hired, you knew tomorrow was coming. Tomorrow, day one, the schedule, the minute by minute, everything. How long have you had that on paper?
Not as long as you'd think. You know, I think as a coach, you have to plan and you have to be organized, but you also have to be light on your feet. And a lot of the decisions are based on how the team's feeling, how they're doing. There's going to be times when we have a couple guys with injuries and guys are run down and we're going to back off with the schedule. There's going to be other times we need to think we need to push through. In general, sorry about that. In general, you know, reinventing the wheel doesn't make a lot of sense. So we'll be on a very similar camp structure to what we were in 2017, with a few adjustments that we think will make us better. But you know, I could probably recite the whole schedule to you tomorrow, but that's subject to change based on what the needs of the team are.
We had a couple interesting tight end additions during the summer, guys who played basketball in their previous college careers. Devo Coleman, the other guy. Sorry. What stands out about those guys? Why did you welcome onto your team with limited football experience?
Well, I'll start with Debo. Heard nothing but good things about him as a person and a competitor. He wanted to give it a shot. He's actually got a lot of talent. He's just starting from quite a ways behind. I want good people first and foremost and high character guys. And if you give me that guy with talent, then it's our job as coaches to refine them and develop them into what we want. Debo's got a lot of those traits, so do a lot of the other guys that we brought in. We're in the molding process right now with a lot of guys, and like I've said about the team, it's just how quickly they figure it out and start operating at a winning level.
Scott, you talked about starting with a clean slate, but how do you replace a guy like RJ Harvey, and what do you envision maybe that running backs room being, maybe not necessarily relying on one guy, but maybe a collective of everyone?
Well, first of all, I've gotten to meet RJ a few times since I've been here. My son's name, Ashley and I had our RJ in 2017, so he's got the same name as my son, so my son likes him. But what a good guy. I think he landed in a really good spot, in a place where he's going to get an opportunity to compete and do well. So I'm excited for him. You don't really replace guys like that. What I am excited for is Miles Montgomery in particular has been in the shadow for quite a while, and he's a really good player. So it's exciting to see guys like that get their chance. I remember being at Oregon and Michael James was second in the Heisman. But we had a couple guys like Kenyon Barner behind him, and the next year you were able to see what Kenyon Barner could do. I'm hoping that same thing happens for Miles. Then we got Jaden Nixon and Stacey Gage and Swint behind them, and those guys really fit what I want to do offensively. So there's no replacing a guy like RJ, but I do feel really good about the guys that we have that are going to be toting the rock this year.
Coach, I feel like a big emphasis that you made is looking for guys who are hungry for a chance, and that's what this team is built on. We just talk about the complications possibly after the season of retaining these guys after they get the opportunity. How do you build that culture to keep them here in Orlando?
Yeah, I'm mad at you for even bringing up a transfer portal right now. I don't even want to think about that. That was not a fun period in my life, and I think that's the case for most coaches without speaking for them. A lot's going to depend on where these rules land. Not to get into that rabbit hole, but I really appreciate Ryan Seeley and some people in government that are trying to get a handle on this thing and put some guardrails around it. I said this at press conference, but when this whole thing started, it was supposed to be NIL and not pay for play, and we went zooming by that in about 6 months. And it was only 2 or 3 years ago when Ryan Day made news by saying that he needed $13 million a year to compete. From what I hear now, there's teams spending $40 and $50 million. So I don't know where it stops unless we get some guardrails around it. And I think college football will be a better place if it's equitable and everybody has the same amount to spend. And quite frankly, that'd be a lot more fun job for me, because then it comes down to how well do you evaluate, how well do you decide what portion of your salary cap goes to this position and that position, and you build the team, and that would make it for a fun sport. So I appreciate the people that are pushing it in that direction, and I don't know what it's going to look like come January. In fact, I don't even know if they've decided when the transfer portal is going to be next year. So we got to stay light on our feet, but I'm not worried about that right now. I'm worried about trying to make this team good, and if we have a lot of players that play well that other people want, that means we probably had a pretty good season.
Got time for a few more?
During spring, you already had a lot of new players. Coming out of spring, the specialists changed as well. What are your expectations? What do you need to see from special teams during this camp?
I got the right guy running that. Pete Alamar's been doing this a long time and been really good at what he's done at Stanford, at Rice, and at other places. Really like what he's installing. To be good on special teams, you got to have good specialists and you got to have good athletes to cover and tackle and block. And I feel like we have that. We got to train them. Pete did a really good job kind of hitting reset and going out and getting some guys to be specialists. In fairness, I haven't seen enough of them yet. When we're doing team stuff, they kind of go do their own thing. So I'm excited to watch it a little closer. But I know I walk into their meetings once in a while, and I really like the group of guys. It's a fun group of guys to be around, and you can't ignore special teams. It's a huge part of the success of a team, and I hope we make some improvements there. And we're not just trying to get through downs there, but we're trying to attack on special teams.
Coach, fans have had the opportunity to see hear about some behind the scenes moments from the team, like UCF Basscast and all that type of stuff. I mentioned
Like
that.
UCF what?
UC Basscast, that the podcast Miles and Jaden are hosting. And one of the episodes I heard a story about how one member of the team introduced themselves by just doing a split right away in front of them to introduce themselves to the team. I mentioned that to ask, what type of new players have you seen make memorable introductions that really gave everyone an idea as to what the characters are on this team, really made them stick out to you?
Yeah, we have a lot of big personalities on the team, I'll tell you that. I haven't watched Miles and Jaden's podcast yet, but I've heard people love it, and they're the right two guys to do it. They're both high character guys with big personalities. You're gonna have to ask me that question again in a few weeks, because during camp we're gonna make anybody new to the program get up in front of the team and do something. That was Dalton Riggs, our deep snapper, that he didn't sing, he didn't tell a joke. Usually you get some of that. He just jumped up in the air and did the splits and made the whole team groan in pain and got a big ovation. So I don't think guys will forget who he is based on just that. But you know, I want guys that are willing to be out there and have some pressure, and that's just a little example of how well you handle yourself under pressure, is to be able to get up in front of the whole group and tell everybody who you are and perform a little bit.
Two more over here.
Yeah, sorry to drag it back closer to the rabbit hole, but how are you personally trying to adapt and learn as all these changes continue to happen within the rev share NIL space? And what sort of role maybe did that uncertainty have maybe over the summer as you were working with the high school recruiting class going forward?
Yeah, we're trying to be light on our feet and adapt as it changes, and make the best decisions that we can. I think it's really easy to say, hey, you ought to do it this way, and these ought to be the rules, and you ought to have guys slotted, or you ought to recruit this many high school guys or that many college guys. To be honest with you, in my short experience with this in 7 months, spending a lot of time at it, every decision's a one-off. Do you want this kid? Do you not? Do you need someone here? Do you not? So we got to kind of make individual decisions as best we can. But I want to say, you know, UCF has grown so much, and it's so exciting for me to have been gone the time that I've been gone, and then come back and see where it is now from a resources standpoint, among other things, compared to where it was. Terry and his team have done an unbelievable job getting us to a point that we're right in line with other people from a rev share standpoint. That makes us powerful in Orlando, Florida, because kids want to be here and there's a lot of talent around here. So we'll continue to adapt and figure out the best answer to each individual question. I can't tell you we're going to have a specific strategy because things change so much and the rules are changing so much, but I know that Terry and a lot of other people have done a really good job to put us in a position where we can be competitive.
Here's on that note.